Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Tea with Trina. I'm excited to be on with you today. And if you are joining me, please let me know that you're here. Pop a comment, say hello if you're here live. I'm bringing you A Tea with Trina, and I'm looking over here because I'm going to grab my notes. I like to have notes, you all, just because if I'm giving a really good point, sometimes I just don't want to miss the points that I want to share with you. So I do have some notes here. And the tea with Trina today is really about navigating relationships and communication. I want to talk about it today. And it kind of ties in because I have to talk about my tea today and how this ties in with relationships and communication. So I have some tea here. And this is my winter tea. Winter is like a winter fruit mixture, kind of medley tea. And I think it might be Winterbaum, but I can't remember. And I'm going to tell you why I can't remember. Uh, Over the summer, I decided to put my teas, my loose leaf teas, to take them out of the bags that they were in with the label and put them into a different container, a container that I had bought that's for loose leaf teas. And I left the bags on the table or on the countertop because it was my goal to come back and cut the labels out and tape them to the container. Well, my spouse had came in the kitchen and thought, "Oh, let me clean this up." He he cleans up sometimes after me, so let me clean this up. He took all of the bags and he put them in a recycling container. We take bags, and I was like, or he had stacked them together to put them into the recycling. And I said, "Hey," after I saw that, "wait a moment. I wanted to use those so I could know what teas that I have." So I'm saying that because my tea that I thought I was getting is not the tea that I have, because he told me, "Oh, I'll fix it. I'll put it on the right labels." So no, this is not ginger shot. This is the fruit winter bomb, but it was in the container labeled ginger shot. And I think it's because he went and put labels and he didn't know which tea was which. And I have a different tea than what the label was. But I think I know which tea it is from the flavor, from the way it smells. And I'm going to have it. Mhm. It's the fruit winter bomb tea and not the ginger shot tea. And that's great. That's the tea that I'm having today. And I want to talk about this because sometimes I'm sharing this even in the situation I just shared with you about communication and navigate it. And sometimes there's a miscommunication in the most loving relationships, or a misunderstanding. And it's not because that people don't care, or your spouse don't care, or your loved one doesn't care, but it's because that there's something else happening in the connection, right? Maybe just not understanding what was needed in the moment. It could be, if the misunderstanding is further along, it could be someone who's just really trying to protect themselves in a dynamic, so they may become defensive in a conversation. And sometimes we could fail at the communication within a relationship, not because we may not be strong enough to navigate certain things, but it could be is that we're trying to do too much without having the right information, or do too much without having the right support. And I think it's really important to discuss this aspect of relationships, because our communication and the ways that we communicate with our partners impact how we connect with them. Okay. And that is a statement that I think is essential to reconnect with, right? Is sometimes when there's miscommunication with our partners, that can impact our connection. And when couples focus on wanting to focus on the what instead of what is happening within, I think sometimes that's when you can get off track. And I want to talk about this because I'm going to be talking about this a little bit later. There's another point here about the what, because it's a lot of times about how what's happening what's happening underneath the surface, the emotions. What are you feeling and how are you being impacted, right? And it could be frustrating. It could be an interaction that you're having that you what you really want like underneath is to be seen. What you really want is to be understood. What you really want is to be valued, to feel safe. And there are other things that are happening on the surface that it's just you can sometimes miss each other on that. And so I just want to share with you with this that is so important to notice when that's happening with your relationship, and notice the difference between reaction versus responding to something, because we can have a reaction to something and that energy may be very different than a response or how you would respond. And so paying attention to that is important. And I want to talk about that or share that as well, because sometimes a reaction may come up because it may be an impact to something that may have hurt you in the past. And a lot of times when we're talking and dealing with relationships and talking with people about their communication and connection, we take a look at what's happened in your attachment, or with your attachment style, or being with your parents who may have raised you, and how an impact from that relationship can also show up in a love relationship, because there are patterns that we may have faced where you feel vulnerable in situations where you may have had a hard time with someone else before. Right. And so we take a look at that and what that means for a couple, and we try to help couples have a reframe around really gaining an understanding, um, and reveal what's really happening for you versus being on the defense mode. Right. And I want to like give an example, and share this in a little bit way. It's really about being vulnerable, and expressing your emotions in a way that helps your partner understand where you are versus being defensive. So that's what I'm trying to say. Okay. And so, what we try to do in this work that I'm talking about in helping couples and people navigate relationships and communication is also help you to, by normalizing and empathizing with you. It is really understandable when you are impacted by something, or your values are impacted, or you feel hurt behind something. It's understandable that you would react in a certain way. Right, and so that's the normalizing and empathizing, but the deeper thing is to be able to really share with someone what's happening. When this happened, this is how I felt. Or when you did this, this is what came up for me, right? And so even couples who are really understanding this, who are visionary couples who may, do great together and they're hanging out and all people are like, oh, you're the model couple. Even they struggle with this as well, because meaningful relationships sometimes require like being intentional. I think all relationships require intentionality, but an intentional repair, right? Not just understanding that you had good intentions, but to really understand that you can see and understand your partner and what they need in the moment and be able to help support that. So I have a situation with my spouse where if there's something that happened that really upsets me, a lot of times my partner, instead of doing a repair, will get defensive. And then that makes me even more upset, the defensiveness. And then we have to go underneath that layer and say, okay, when this happened, this is how I was feeling. Oh, I apologize. It was not my intent to make you feel that way, or because we can't be responsible for folks' feelings. It's not my intent to have this happen in this way. This is what I mean. But the repair happens initially. I apologize, right? I'm sorry that that happens. And so that's really what it's about when you are navigating relationships and communication. It's really about seeing each other. It's about really expressing how you're feeling versus a defense, right? Really helping your partner understand where you are, and this is the work that I do when I'm working with couples, and this is the work that I do when I'm doing my Hold Me Tight intensive, which I do have one that's coming up which really helps couples to connect on a deeper level with their communication, to understand what repair is, and to understand what your cycles are of miscommunication and how you can move through and rectify and repair those cycles of miscommunication so you no longer have cycles that happen in the same way, but that you can shift them, that you can start to understand each other. You can start to communicate better and to make a deeper connection. So if you're a couple who, knows that there's more love that you want to experience with each other, and that you really want to have conversations where you're able to see and understand each other versus having silence, I want to invite you to my Hold Me Tight intensive. This intensive really helps couples move from defense to true connection. It helps couples to move from communication breakdowns to really understanding each other and providing emotional safety for one another. This process is sacred. It's guided experiences that I take couples through to help you learn how you can listen more intently, listen differently, speak honestly, and reconnect on a deeper level. And I have three more spots available for a couple who's ready and interested to invest in healing and growth within your relationship. And so, if your relationship matters to you and you really want to do this work and you want to experience this and be seen and be heard in your relationship, I'd love to help you by having you join my Hold Me Tight intensive. I encourage you to send me a private message. I have a group that's happening this weekend. So send me a private message. You can DM me to say, hey, we would love to be a part of your intensive, and I will get you all of the information. So the main thing that, miscommunication is not love gone wrong at all. It's proof when you're upset about it. It's proof that love exists within your relationship. The thing is that we work to protect what matters most to us. Okay. We work to protect what matters most to us. And so when you don't feel safe, right, in relationships, you defend, you argue, you may even go silent. But what you really want deep down is connection. Okay. And that's what the Hold Me Tight intensive is all about. And that's what I wanted to share with you about that. Communication is important, and it's really important to communicate from the heart and not from hurt. And so thank you so much for being here and tuning in with me for this Tea with Trina and this conversation about navigating relationships and communication. Because if you're ready for the kind of work that helps you tune into closeness, that helps you tune into deeper emotional intimacy with your partner, then the Hold Me Tight intensive is for you. And I do have 3 spots available. So send me a message, DM me, and let me know, because I'm in the work of helping relationships become stronger, to helping you deepen your love connection with your partner. So thank you so much for tuning in for this Tea with Trina. And I hope that it was helpful. I look forward to talking with you on the next one. We'll talk soon.